Thank you, Chairwoman Clark and Ranking Member Garbarino, for holding this very important hearing. In my district, though we are mostly a rural district, we had a very detrimental attack that occurred to a local manufacturing company called ASI. And that ransomware attack completely shut them down for almost 6 weeks. And though the ransom was only $100,000 in Bitcoin, it cost them over $1 million in hard cash to replace their systems in order to recover. So this is a very, very serious issue, not just for government entities, but for commercial entities as well. So my question goes to Mr. Krebs here. I was reading in the ransomware guide, which I thought was a pretty amazing document, that CISA offers a no-cost vulnerability scanning service and other no-cost assessments. So I followed the links in the guide to a document that further explained these no-cost cyber hygiene services, what they were, and they include vulnerability scanning, web application scanning, phishing campaign assessment, and remote penetration scanning, which I thought was very outstanding. And from what I have read, they are available to all agencies, federal, state, local, tribal, and territorial, as well as public and private sector critical infrastructure organizations. So just two things here quickly. How does CISA get this guide out and get the word out on these services, which I think are phenomenal? And can you explain how an entity would sign up for them? And then how would you also determine what a critical infrastructure entity is in the private sector? Thank you.
Yes, sir. So what you have highlighted here was one of my biggest concerns. There's a great deal of technical acumen and expertise at CISA, really good cyber expertise. Marketing, on the other hand, was not a real area of strength. And that goes back to my earlier point of the future of CISA is in the field. One of the greatest ways, the best ways to engage with our stakeholders, which are not all the time, at least in the Beltway, is to get out there and mingle in their community. As a Georgia native, I know your district quite well, spent a lot of time up there playing sports and all that good stuff. But we would need somebody that would be in that area, that would be meeting with the state and local representatives, that would be meeting with the critical infrastructure. And then just from a critical infrastructure perspective, we tend to know what the riskiest stuff is out there, but a lot of it's self-selection. And again, it's marketing. It's customer centricity. It's getting out there with constant engagement and asking, what do you need?
Okay, great, thank you. The question about what determines whether an entity in the private sector is critical infrastructure or not. I mean, do you guys make that determination yourself, or is there something that you go on, a definition that you go on?
So critical infrastructure in the United States is anything from banks to bridges, schools to sewers. It is a broad categorization that would lead an organization into a partnership, a voluntary partnership with CISA. There are critical infrastructures that at greatest risk can be identified and tagged by CISA. There's no regulatory requirement necessarily that goes along with that, but it tends to be a self-sorting mechanism that brings organizations in to work with us.
Okay, if any private sector organizations choose to work with you, I assume that CISA gives them complete confidence that any data that they share or anything that is held in complete confidence with CISA?
We have a pretty good track record, yes, sir, or at least as I was there and prior, of not sharing or leaking or disclosing information about partners. And there are some regulatory protective measures, the Protected Critical Infrastructure Information Program, that actually has criminal penalties on federal employees that disclose information.
Okay, that's great to know. Thank you. And one last question. You made a comment about choke points across the cryptocurrency, because I think cryptocurrency, it's a common denominator in all ransomware, because that's how they get paid. So can you talk a little bit about choke points, how we can improve choke points maybe, and make cryptocurrency harder for people to use?
So I
anonymously?
I think the way I would characterize it is you have points of leverage where the cryptocurrency economy intersects with the conventional economy. It's kiosks, it's over the counter exchange desks, it's exchanges. Anytime that you're taking Bitcoin, you're buying Bitcoin or trading it out. Those are areas that you can actually say, look, you have to comply with financial regulations, know your customer, anti-money laundering. The task force does a fantastic job of laying out some of those issues. The thing we have to be careful about is that cryptocurrency is one of those technologies that has crossed the threshold, in my view. It's here to stay. In fact, there are other emerging areas. In China, cryptocurrency is way ahead of where we are in the U.S., and it very likely is going to be the future of financial transactions. So rather than cut it off and strangle it, we need to figure out how to get the outcomes we want, positive societal outcomes, while reducing and minimizing. And I think that's the area that Congress needs to spend a lot of time policy-wise thinking about.
Okay. Thank you very much.
The gentleman's time has expired. Thank you.